Shaving with a cutthroat razor is an old art form, but nowadays more and more of your clients are asking for and expecting you to be able to shave them with a cutthroat. So let's begin with the essentials. First up, you'll need the right tools for the job. A barber's chair is essential for getting your client into the right position for shaving. You'll need to be lying back, relaxed and comfortable with no neck strain. Okay, for a shave, we're going to need some really good shaving hardware. First up, we'll need a latex glove. We'll also need a badger shaving brush, a cutthroat razor, and some blades to go into the razor. And then we'll need some software as well, and we'll use a scrub, a good quality shaving cream, an aftershave balm, and a moisturiser. Make sure you use a razor that takes disposable blades for health and safety reasons, but also because the sharper the blade, the better the shave, and you'll get less irritation on the skin as well. There's a huge variety of shaving brushes in the market, but for the best results, use a Super Badger shaving brush. The white tips at the end of the bristles are really soft, and they result in a really luxurious lather. Now, it's important that all of the tools you use during your shave are fully sterilised. Whether you use a liquid disinfectant such as barbicide or an electrical disinfector such as an autoclave, it's essential that you follow the manufacturer's instructions. Now, first up, we're going to start with a consultation. And during the consultation, we're going to be looking for any lumps, bumps, spots, or any redness or sensitivity like this, which might make the shave more difficult. Now, if your client has ever had an allergic reaction to any shaving product or lanolin, it's advisable not to do the shave. Likewise, if they're suffering from anything like cold sores or impetigo. Let's begin the shave by gowning up the client. Now, at the very least, you'll need a towel around his neck, and this will stop the water going onto his clothes from the shaving brush. And we'll also use the towel to wipe the razor clean of all the shaving cream and hair. Now, I'm going to have one final check of my client's face, and I'm just looking for any lumps or bumps or spots. And while I'm at it, I'm going to have a look at the direction of his hair growth, because during the shave, we're going to be shaving with the grain at all times, so it's important for me to remember what way the hair is growing. First of all, we're going to start off with a hot towel. The hot towels are going to soften the pores and lift up the hairs in the skin. Now I'll just give the towel a bit of a wring out. And before I apply it to my client's face, I'm just going to test the temperature on my wrist, and that's fine. Leave the towel on for about a minute or until it starts to cool down, and then apply your scrub. This helps to exfoliate the skin and lift the hairs in preparation for the shave. Once the scrub has been applied, use another hot towel. After a minute or so, remove the towel and use this towel to remove the scrub from the face. Now that the skin and hair on the face has been prepared for the shave, it's time to move on to the shaving cream. All the shaving products I use are made by Baxter of California, particularly the shaving cream, as it helps the blade glide easily over the skin, and it also leaves the skin feeling baby smooth. Run your brush under hot water for a few seconds and then squeeze the excess water from it. Shake it a couple of times to remove as much water as you can, and then apply the shaving cream. Now I'm just going to squeeze the brush quite gently and then apply the shaving cream to the face. And in certain areas such as around the moustache and anywhere which is quite tight, you really need to squeeze the brush so you form a point. And that way you get really good control when you're applying the cream. Now that we've finished lathering up, it's time to get stuck into the first shave. Now the first shave is called the once over, and that's the main shave. Now it might be that later on, if we've missed a few areas, we'll go over it again, and that will be called the second time over. Now this time it's important to ensure that you have a new blade in your razor. If you don't have a new blade, put one in now. I shave the face in 5 sections, and it's important to use these sections when you shave too. Working in sections keeps the shave consistent and ensures that you have plenty of grip, and plenty of grip means good tension. I'm right-handed, so I'm going to start on the right-hand side of the face. However, if you're left-handed, I suggest you start on the left-hand side of the face and work vice versa to me. This is how to hold your razor for this section. It's called forehand, and your thumb goes into the shank, your little finger rests on the tang, and your 3 middle fingers rest on the back of the blade around the pivot. Hold the blade at about 5 degrees to the skin, and it's important that you use short strokes and use your arm like this to make the movements rather than your wrist. The golden rule of shaving is tension, tension, tension. If you don't have enough tension on the skin, you're going to cut your client, or you'll tug the hairs out of his skin. So I'm going to begin the shave now, and you'll notice that whenever I shave my client, the tension is always within 1 inch of the blade. So as we shave down, we bring the tension down with it. When your blade clogs up with hair and cream, give it a wipe in the towel. With your client's head positioned slightly to the left, work your shave through section 1 and make sure that you go with the grain of the hair. If the hair changes direction, make sure you change the direction in which you shave. When you come to an area that sticks out, such as the jawbone or Adam's apple, pull the skin away from it so as not to risk cutting the client. As we move into section 2, you might find that the shave cream has dried out a little bit. So in this case, instead of adding more shave cream, we're going to add some more hot water. There's a couple of different ways of shaving section 2. The first is backhand, and this is how we do backhand. However, to make it easier for yourself, we're going to use a modified forehand, and we're going to shave our client like this. Don't forget about your tension when you're completing section 2, and take care to pull the skin away from the bony areas, as well as shaving with the grain. At this point we've finished virtually half of the face, so now we'll move on to section 3, the chin. Position your client's head slightly to the right. Then stand to the right hand side of your client, and using the area in section 2 that you've just shaved for grip, put plenty of tension on the skin by pulling it over to the left hand side. Shave by scraping the razor towards yourself, and you might find it easier using your thumb and fingers to tense the chin area. You're really going to have to work on your tension in this area, as there's a lot of elasticity in the skin here. Finish off by scooping your razor to complete the lower lip, remembering to apply loads of tension. Remember, a lack of tension leads to cuts. We only have 2 sections left, and this one is nice and easy. On saying that, it can sometimes be a little difficult to shave under the chin, depending on the contour of your client's neck. If you find this to be the case, tilt your client's head back slightly, but don't tilt it for too long as it may strain his neck. Then simply shave in the direction of the hair growth until the section is complete. Don't forget your tension. So now we move to section 5, the moustache area, which is full of nooks and crannies which we'll want to avoid. So I'll start by positioning my client's head slightly to the right hand side, and I will stand to his right. I'll begin the moustache area by gently pushing up the nose. This will apply tension to the area directly below the nose. 2 or 3 strokes should finish this area, which will give you an area of grip by which you can then shave the right hand side of the moustache, followed by the left hand side of the moustache. This is how to do the right hand side. And this is how to do the left hand side. Once the shave's complete, it's time to apply another hot towel. After a minute or so, remove this towel, but use it to remove any excess shaving cream and hairs from the face. Soak a towel in cold water, or preferably have one ready and waiting in the fridge or in a bucket full of water and ice cubes. Wring it out and then apply it to the face. No need to wrap this one around your client, as we only need to place the cold towel on areas which have just been shaved. This will close down the pores and reduce the redness and sensitivity. Remove the towel after about 30 seconds and flip it over. The other side will still be cold. Remove the towel and the shave is almost complete. Well, that concludes the shave. Now is a good time to condition the skin, and to do that we're going to use an aftershave balm followed by a moisturiser. Starting with the aftershave balm, apply a pea-sized amount to the palm of your hands and rub it in. Then gently apply this to the areas you have shaved. This will cool down the skin and help to calm down any redness. Next, do the same with the moisturiser, but this time you really want to massage it into the skin. Use petrissage movements to really work the cream into the face for a minute or 2, and this will really relax your client. When you've finished, remove any excess cream with a tissue. Gently lift your client back up into a seating position and remove the towel and the gown, and the job is done. Well, that's it done. It's quite easy really, and it does get easier with practice. And generally I find that about 5 practices is enough to make you good at doing this commercially. And now to round up, here are some of my do's and don'ts. Tip number 1. If you cut someone, don't panic. There are a few different types of cuts which involve different remedies. The first one involves a large section of the skin showing lots and lots of tiny spots of blood. This is due to sensitive skin and is generally unavoidable. Simply apply shaving cream to the affected area and continue doing so until the end of the shave. It will generally have healed up by then. Another type of cut happens when you accidentally clip a spot or a bump in the skin. Blood just sits on the surface. Treat this in a similar way with shaving cream and it should clear up by the end of the shave. If blood is running out of a cut, you can use some alum stick. Run a chunk of the stick under cold water for about 10 seconds and then apply this to the cut. It will sting your client like mad, but should stop any bleeding in its tracks. Finally, if there's bleeding or an injury on a larger scale which you can't stop, please seek emergency help immediately. The safety of both you and your client is of primary concern during a shave. Tip number 2. Don't shave anyone unless you're insured to do so. Tip number 3. Always make sure you go through a full consultation before shaving someone. Tip number 4. Do practice on a balloon. It really works. Tip number 5. Do make sure all your tools are sterile and that you avoid any contact with blood. Tip number 6. Do stand with good posture. If you're straining your back, arms or neck, your client is not positioned properly. Tip number 7. Do be aware of health and safety procedures and comply with them at all times. Thanks for watching the DVD, and I wish you all the very best of luck with your shaving.